Good morning. Happy Thursday. Keith Tebow with you today. And as we have been doing every Thursday for quite some time, I'm pleased to be joined by the mayor of the city of Fall River, Mayor Paul Coogan. Mayor, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Keith. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. I want to start with some school issues, if I could. This week, following an executive session, the school committee voted to make some changes within the contract of Superintendent Matthew Malone. One had to do with his compensation, another one, language in terms of maybe terminating him without cause. This is following a series of allegations that were reported this week concerning some comments allegedly made by the superintendent to some staff at the school department. Now, you recused yourself from that deliberations and that vote. For people who don't understand what that entailed, can you give us a little background on why that took place in terms of your recusing yourself from that position in that vote?
Okay, I'll explain it very clearly. The school committee has 7 members. I'm one of the 7. Some of the other members have family relatives that work in the schools. But in my case, my brother, who is an 18-year employee in the school department, brought in by a former superintendent. I was not involved with his hiring or anything. I was only a vice principal at the time, and I don't have any sway at the ad building. He became the director of human resources. The vote that they were talking about was personnel related. And since my brother is directly supervised by the superintendent, there's no buffer in between my brother and the superintendent. In the other cases of the people that are in the school working and the school committee, there's a vice principal, there's a department head, there's a principal, there's layers of people that are responsible for those individuals. But in my unique case, my brother is directly supervised by the superintendent. So anything that may impact his position or a raise or a promotion or his firing or anything, I have to recuse myself. I initially got my advice from our in-house attorney, Bruce Assad, but he also said you should run that up the tree and make sure that the information I'm giving you is accurate. And I went to the State Ethics Commission back in November when this was just starting to bubble up, and I got a verbal opinion. And then as this thing was coming to a head, I said I better get this in writing, and that's why you saw the letter I released to one of the radio stations and a newspaper, and I have a copy. I have no problem with what she wrote. She said, in this case, I advise you to recuse yourself from any of these negotiations.
So in terms of some of the details of the contract haven't been released yet, can you give us some updates in terms of like what the change in the compensation was? Is that
I
going to be
haven't seen
released?
them yet. I have not seen that yet, Keith. I've heard exactly what you saw and what local media is pushing out, but I have not seen an adjusted contract yet.
Okay. Let me ask you, from what I understand, I believe the superintendent's contract, I believe, is up this year. Is that correct? Is it
I
up
think
for
we've
renewal?
got maybe 18 months to go.
Okay. So let me just ask you in general, what have been your thoughts? You've worked obviously with the superintendent while you were a member of the school committee and now as mayor. How would you characterize his job performance to date?
As you would with any individual that works for a company or a city or anything, you look at the whole picture. I believe this situation obviously did not put the superintendent in a good light. And when you're in an organization with this many employees, it may affect leadership down the road. We'll see how it plays out. Obviously, the committee that was left to decide the conditions that the superintendent will be working under thought he could recover and do a good job for the city of Fall River. I'm a strong believer in people giving people a second chance. And as I said, I was not a party to all the discussions and all the specifics of the allegations. So the people that thought he could continue in that role had the facts in front of them, and they made the best decision on the table.
All right, let me shift gears now to the other news story, I guess, coming out of the school committee this week. The superintendent announced that, unfortunately, with the continued surge in COVID infections within the city of Fall River, he's looking at continuing teaching and learning within the schools to be in the modified hybrid model, which has currently been in effect since the beginning, about mid-December, which means most students are still remote. And this could last up to March 1st. So what are your thoughts on that? I know we all want the kids back in, but for the time being, is it a good decision?
Again, that decision is made at the superintendent's level. I looked at the data that was presented to us at the school committee tonight, and it reflected a couple of different things. Obviously, as everyone knows, we post the numbers ourselves every day in Fall River. We're not trying to hide behind anything. We're very much out front on where we stand as a city with our COVID numbers. But school numbers are a little bit different because there was a bump up after the Christmas vacation. Now, those students and those staff that did contribute to that bump, they had not been in a school in 14 days. So it's the same thing that happens across the state. Household passage of an infection or outside of the schools is brought into the schools. The numbers in the building, although anything over one is one too many, are still not at that point where it's considered catastrophic or it's considered highly critical. I think we have to look at all the numbers. I do want the kids back in school. I think, but we have to find a way to make sure we're doing it safely. There is some other pool testing that's coming out. There is now a vaccine. We're going to be visiting the vaccine station a little bit later today up at BCC. My wife just got a vaccine, and she's a healthcare worker, and she's in that phase 1. I'm not in phase 1, so I have to wait. But if we can get a vaccine going and we get enough vaccines in the city of Fall River that we can start to get a handle on this, I believe that's the way to go.
Yeah. And in terms of the schools, the superintendent did say that, the committee is meeting, I believe, February 8th. And there could be opportunities to rethink the plan at that time, depending on the number of infections, which actually has gone down a little bit over the past few days. We weren't seeing the multiple triple digits, close to 200 in some occasions. So I guess, like you said, one is too many, right? I get it.
But
I know the numbers are the numbers.
If you jinx me, I mean, we've gotten a slight decrease, but you know what those numbers are like. You look at them every day, and you're like, where is it going today? And that's what it is. You keep plugging along. And again, one of the other committee members was advocating for the K-2 kids to get into school yesterday. I really don't disagree with her. I don't imagine what it's like having a grade 1 or 2 or a kindergarten kid working on a computer all day. That's just got to be unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt. One other COVID-related note that's sort of not Fall River related, but regional related. Your colleague, the mayor of New Bedford, John Mitchell, announced yesterday or the day before that he unfortunately tested positive. Have you had the opportunity to speak to him on how he's doing? And let me ask you, how often are you still getting tested?
I've been tested twice. I feel great. I'm much more diligent about wearing a mask now, as I tell all the residents too. When I get out, I try to make sure I wear a mask. I'm not wearing it with you right now, Keith, because I'm in the office alone. But I do try to wear a mask whenever I'm out in public. And I'm going to go basing it on how I feel. And I'm still at the gym every morning. I don't want to just take a testing site to have a test. Go to a testing site to have a test for the sake of it.
Yeah. Finally, this week, based on our conversation last week, I buried the lead when we talked. We would just come over from Washington, the attacks at the Capitol. You had mentioned in the past that, in terms of who the president was, you were just interested in helping the people of Fall River. What were your responses to that attack last week? And what are you looking forward to, if anything, with the new administration starting next Wednesday?
Well, I think we're gonna have a much more accessible, working relationship with the new administration. I was on the phone with Marty Walsh, the new Secretary of Labor, on Sunday, and he said to me, "Paul, anytime you want to come to Washington, we'll do whatever we can to help you." I told him, I said, I really appreciated that, and I know our entire federal delegation, Markey, Warren, Ocean, Clausen, Keating, are all more than willing to step up and help Fall River. And if we can keep building strong relationships with that crew, I think it's going to help us a lot. What happened in Washington? I want to be clear on this. It was fine as long as people were walking along carrying a flag and voicing their opinion about X, Y, or Z. That's not the problem. The problem happened when a spinoff or a group of those people decided to storm a building. And that's off the rails, and I voiced my disagreement with that. We can't have that. We had 3 protests in Fall River. I want to say, a couple hundred people each, and those were all peaceful. We had a protest, a pro-Trump protest up at the Rotary at the Elks Club, and that was peaceful. We had pro-Trump people down in front of the police station on Pleasant Street holding signs, and that was peaceful. That's not a problem. Peaceful protest is what we have to be about. Smashing windows, cars, burning things. That's where we go off the rails, and that's where we have real problems. If people have a difference of opinion, express it, but just do it. As I heard somebody say the other day, violence is not free speech. I agree with that 100%. If someone wants to express their opinion, I support it, whatever side they're on, right or left. But at the same time, we can't hurt other people or property or block people from doing things that they want to do.
Yeah. All right, Mayor Coogan, as always, thank you for joining me. We'll talk again next week. Take care.
Okay, Keith, thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us today here in FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great day.